California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association. Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell Hauser, and this is going to be a real adventure. We are standing here. It's a beautiful sunny morning here in Rancho Mirage, and we're standing here right on Frank Sinatra Drive, which is very appropriately named. Why is that, Gary?
Because we're at the home of Frank Sinatra. Or
That's
what
right.
Was the home?
This is Frank Sinatra's house right here. And Gary, you're from the
Palm Springs Desert Resorts Convention and Visitors Bureau. I know, a big mouthful.
But you're here to kind of set the stage for this whole Sinatra adventure we're getting ready to go on. Sinatra is hot here in Palm Springs and Rancho Mirage, isn't it?
Well, certainly Frank Sinatra was a larger-than-life figure all over the world, but this is really where he called home. You know, New York kind of takes credit for him. A lot of other cities, Hoboken, New Jersey, take credit for him, but this is really where he wanted to be. This home, he lived in for well over 40 years, and it's really where he came to relax, where he played with all of his friends, and a who's who of Hollywood spent a lot of time behind these gates.
But the whole Sinatra mystique in this whole desert area, people come here now to kind of take the Sinatra tour, don't they?
The whole retro craze, particularly as it pertains to Palm Springs, is so big right now, and everyone really wants to try to capture an essence of what it was like during the Sinatra heyday. We get a lot of requests for people who want to dine at Frank's favorite restaurants. They want to go and do the things that Frank did when he was here in the desert. We're getting people from all over the world who are flying in just to trace Frank's footsteps. And of course, Frank rests here permanently at the cemetery, and they go and they pay homage to him there as well.
Well, Louie and I have made a request. We drove up from Los Angeles today because we wanted to visit Sinatra's home, and that's easier said than done, isn't it?
This is a private home. It is not open to visitors. There are lots of buses that stop by and point it out, but it is not something that people can actually tour.
So to go behind these gates is a big deal.
It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal, Huell. And that's why I'm bringing my camera here, because this is something I may not get to do again.
You've never done this.
I have never done this. It has been a dream of mine to be able to go behind the gates and see this. This is sort of, a musical mecca. This is, a lot of people make the pilgrimage to see Frank.
The Holy of Holies behind these gates.
This is huge.
All right, we're getting ready to go inside. Now, they tell us that the way to get in, I'm pushing the button right now. I'm pushing the button right now. I'm pushing the button. Oh, there it goes. Whew, I was scared there for a minute, Gary. Thought our plans had fallen through. The gate has opened, and here we are inside the compound.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome to you to Frank's Place.
Your name is?
I'm Elaine Merrill, and I have the pleasure of managing Frank's Place.
Now, when you say managing Frank's Place, what do you mean?
Frank's Place is now owned by a Canadian company, the Jim Pattison Group, and we use Frank's Place for corporate purposes. It's a great spot for visitors to come for meetings and just a wonderful atmosphere.
So is it also a private home? Did the Pattisons also stay here? But it's also a corporate thing for their company as well.
That's correct. Mr. and Mrs. Pattison would use it, yes.
And you've basically kept it in pristine condition. I mean, you must have a huge staff here working on all of this.
The gardens are handled by 2 gardeners, so they do a very great job.
Now, do you have anything that you want to tell us about what we're seeing right off the bat?
Well, just in front, behind me, is a bronze horse that was in fact a gift from Robert Schuller to Mr. Sinatra, and it's one of only 4. So a very special item in our garden, and in fact on the spot of the old helicopter pad. So a very interesting spot for our entrance garden.
So there used to be a helicopter pad right here.
That's correct. Mr. Sinatra's guests would arrive that way.
You were not here when Sinatra lived here, were you?
No, I'm new. I'm just here from August.
So you hear all of these Sinatra stories, don't you?
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, thank you for meeting us here. And the Sinatra stories are going to come from this old-timer here.
I am an old-timer, too.
Introduce yourself
My
to
name
us.
is Frankie Randall. It's nice to be with you here today.
And your association with Sinatra?
Well, my association, I'm happy to say, was a long-time friendship. I met Frank Sinatra about 37 years ago at a place called Jilly's in New York. And Jilly, for anyone who knows anything about Frank Sinatra's life, was probably Frank Sinatra's closest and dearest friend of all time.
And you stuck with Sinatra all these years.
Yes, I did. He was a wonderful man. We had some wonderful times here at this home, and it's a very interesting place.
Now, you're an entertainer.
Yes, I am. I sing, and I'm originally a jazz piano player, a classical piano player, jazz piano player.
And your working relationship with Sinatra?
Well, I used to travel sometimes with him. I was a corporate vice president for Bally's Casinos and Hotels for a long while, and prior to that for Golden Nugget. And we had an ongoing relationship with Frank Sinatra.
And you spent a good deal of time right in here, didn't you?
Right in here. There are a couple of pianos, one's in the house, one's in the theater, and I spent a good part of my life entertaining and having a great time and lots of fun with the Sinatra family.
Elaine, we're getting ready to hear some real Sinatra stories. You better stick around and listen.
This is the good stuff I need to make my tours.
Exactly. Well, let's start the tour because this is amazing. Tell us about this area right out here.
Well, as Elaine mentioned, this used to be a helicopter pad and then eventually became a beautiful garden like this.
And who would come in by helicopter? Well, Frank or his guest? Or
Frank or his guest in the time that it was a helicopter pad. He used to use it just to go back and forth to the airport or just as a convenience for himself.
Was this a real private compound? I mean, was it gated and guarded? Was it a big deal to get inside those gates?
Real big deal to get inside these gates. It was guarded, as you can well see. That's a guardhouse right behind us. And,
so he had 24-hour security guards here.
Yes, he did. And despite the fact that he felt very safe here in Palm Springs, he lived here for so many years, he still needed the necessary security that a star of his nature would take.
Now, just walking down here, I'm not sure what all of this stuff is. This is a huge place.
Well, this is a little room that's off the kitchen. The kitchen is right behind that.
Oh, look at the mat.
The house I live in, yeah. And he used to have his birds, and the dogs used to be out in here. And here you've got a laundry room right here.
They're the two gardeners. Howdy, guys.
They're the boys that take care of the place.
Boy, they work hard around here. The place looks great. Thank you. Looks very good. Boy, they are beautiful. Look at these.
Isn't it gorgeous?
This is just amazing.
It's just beautiful.
This is, I mean, I don't know what the helicopter pad looked like, but it certainly couldn't look as nice as
Not
this.
as lovely as this. I remember Cheryl T. got married out here one day, and they had a piano set up for me, and we played some music.
Cheryl Teagues got married out
right
here.
There. Yeah, right there.
Now, was this considered? Well, this is kind of still in the outer part of the compound.
Yes,
though,
this is where when he wanted to go off on his own and play with the train sets, as you'll see, it's just magnificent.
The train set.
Oh, there are. When you say train set,
wait a minute. This is a brown caboose.
This is a caboose that was given to him by some friends and employees, and in there is a room that he used to get his massages in, and there's a barber chair in there for his haircuts and things. Yeah.
So this was Frank's barbershop and masseuse table in there.
Just a little body maintenance room of
and
sorts.
Look at this little house.
Isn't
Now
this
this is great. What was this?
This is all trains inside, as you'll well see. Once you open that door, it's just train set all the way around the room.
Trains.
Yes, and there's little rooms that are off to the side that display some real collector's items.
I hear
some trains.
I hear trains. Gary, you and Elaine better come on. You're going to miss the train stories. Oh no! This is amazing. Look at this.
Come on in.
Is this not magnificent?
Oh my gosh!
It's unbelievable.
Look at this is serious train stuff here.
Train collector, yes.
Now, what's the story here? When did Frank become so infatuated with trains?
I think he was always infatuated with trains, quite frankly. He just was fascinated by all of this. And if memory serves me correctly, during the time that I was vice president of the casinos and hotels, I believe we gave him for his birthday, it might have been his 75th birthday, I think we gave him that train set up there.
This, look, Louis, up here, this train set right up here, it's hanging down. You gave him that for his 75th?
Not me personally. It was either the Golden Nugget or Bally's, I'm not sure, but I know we gave him a couple of collector's items, because what else do you buy Frank Sinatra?
Now, what would happen in this room? Would this happen when he had parties? He'd bring people here?
When he had parties, or I would think probably at times that he couldn't sleep, because Frank Sinatra was noted for not going to sleep very early at night. And I would think that he probably came in here. I used to see him all the time put a hat on and just run all the buttons back there.
You're kidding.
Yeah, he had a great time.
He would put a hat on.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a series of hats over there. He generally picked maybe that red hat over there.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
here's a guy with a hat on right now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name is?
Oh, my name is Alfredo Garcia.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Now, did you work with Frank Sinatra?
Yes.
How many years?
I worked 4 years.
4 years?
Yes.
On the trains?
Yes.
And you're still running them?
Yeah.
Look at all these switches, Louis. This is an amazing... You run them all from right here?
Yes. All these the control for every single trains.
Wow. There's the picture.
Isn't that a great picture of him when he was getting the train from us? We looked long and hard to get that train set. And
so he had people out looking for trains for him.
In addition to looking for them himself, yes, but because he was so recognizable, he had a staff person who would go to acquire different pieces of train for his collection.
Do you have inquiries from train buffs about this collection? I mean, because the collection must be known. It must be...
Actually, the train collection is quite nicely profiled in this issue of Classic Toy Trains.
Really?
Yes.
The Sinatra collection.
The Sinatra collection is that well known.
Wow.
It's magnificent. These are priceless items in here.
And somehow or another, the idea of Sinatra standing here wearing a hat and operating the trains it's a wonderful image that it conjures up.
And his eyes would light up. You know, he had a way of smiling, and he could just light a room up. But he would have a great time in here.
Well, you're carrying on the tradition and doing a good job of it.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for coming in and turning Frank's trains on for us today. Does he still come out here a lot and operate the trains?
Alfredo actually maintains the trains and the tracks for us, so yes.
Keeping them in
Good
complete
running order.
working order. A lot of work,
Oh, yes. A lot of work.
but a lot of fun.
Yes.
So Sinatra had trains, he had helicopters,
He had airplanes.
planes, cars, boats. I'm sure he had boats.
He had boats. And he had these toys. As a matter of fact, this was his motto right here.
He who dies with the most toys wins. From one plaque to another. Elaine, you pointed out this plaque that's on the caboose out here.
The caboose was given to Mr. S, as he was called by the staff, and it was in appreciation of all that he did for them, and it says, Mr. Sinatra, strength, kindness, and integrity, 1971, and all the staff names are listed.
So
They felt a lot for this man.
There's a lot about the private man we don't know, isn't there?
Well, he had a great relationship with his staff.
Yeah. That's significant that's there.
With his staff and with his friends would do anything for him, needless to say.
Yeah.
And walking through these grounds, it feels so good to be back here again. All kinds of things come to mind. As we walk down this little corridor here, to the right, Roland, his cook, used to live right in here.
Right here.
Right here.
And look at this.
That old feeling.
All of the
mats, there's My Way, there's Tender Trap, there's all the different songs that he recorded and was associated with. This was Vine's room. Vine was the gal who took care of the house, ran the house. Actually, there's something that, Elaine, maybe you can explain.
What is this?
Well, Martin Sinatra, who was Frank's dad, was a fireman. And he was always very concerned about fires. And when he first had this place out here, this was kind of wide open, empty spaces.
So Mr. Sinatra was prepared. He had a reservoir of water, and throughout the property are these wonderful old bits of firefighting equipment. So he was ready.
Do you think that dated from the fact that his father was a fireman, or just from his concern about fire out here?
I think possibly it was a combination of both.
Yeah.
His dad was, of course, being a fireman, and living out here when he first moved here, there was not all the construction that we have now.
Now, when did he move here?
I don't know the exact date he moved here.
Gary?
It was in the early 50s. He had a home in Palm Springs that he sold in 1949 and then moved out here when there was really nothing. He was really one of the first pioneers in Rancho Mirage. That was about, I think, 51 or 52.
Yeah, up until that time, he had a place on Via Calusa, which is downtown Palm Springs.
But this was his house.
Yes.
This is the house that he loved and lived in for so long.
Absolutely. In fact, during his final days, it was said that the people who went to go visit him at his home in Malibu, he kept saying, "I want to go home." And they said, "Mr. Sinatra, you are home." He says, "No, I'm not. I want to go home."
He loved this place.
He thought of this as his home.
This was home.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
Are you getting all of this on camera in case Louis has a problem with
I'm
his?
your backup. Absolutely.
You hadn't missed a thing the whole time. Okay, so, well, there's another one. Come fly with me.
There it is. Yep.
So, do you think, would he come up with the idea to do something like this?
I don't know. I would think that it was certainly part of his idea, whether it was in fact his or suggested to him.
Look at this, Barbara and Blue Eyes.
Yep.
Now, why would that be here? Is this where they lived here?
This was the dining room here. There's a little bar area there, and then next to it is the living room. So this was kind of like a focal point for parties. And I remember, I'm not proud of the fact that I smoke, but I still do smoke. And he and I used to come out here and have a cigarette, and he'd look up at the palm trees and the stars and the moon, and just thank God for all this magnificence.
So Barbara wouldn't let him smoke in the house.
Well, she let him do anything he wanted to do, but I think out of consideration he went outside.
I can't imagine anybody ever telling Sinatra, "Get out of the house if you want to smoke."
If you told him at the wrong time, the answer could be pretty...
Yeah. Now this is, boy, I tell you, this is overwhelming.
It's just gorgeous here.
This is, and what's so interesting about it is that, well, number one, the pool really isn't that large.
No.
It's a wonderful pool. Did he spend a lot of time in the pool?
Oh, he used to like to lounge around the pool. In fact, Elaine brought out a little earlier. That was a chair that he used to sit in, that one with the blue cover on it.
Elaine, what's the story? This was his chair?
My understanding, that's Mr. Sinatra's chair, and it's certainly close by another historic spot, which
what was
is
that?
The concrete, the heart in the concrete, is where Mr. and Mrs. Sinatra were married. So this was their reception area.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
FAS and BAS
AS.
7/11/76. You
1970.
think they did that themselves?
They
Put
did.
that in there?
They did. They did. The ceremony was in fact at the Annenberg estate, but the reception was here. Wow.
And this is his chair.
There we are.
Facing, you got it faced exactly the way he...
Yeah, this was a great area for barbecuing and with the little cabana.
Oh, look over there.
Great
All
place.
of this is exactly the way it was.
It's exactly the way it was.
And look over here, we've got the tennis courts. And what were these rooms back here in this other little house over here?
Well, that was more guest quarters.
So the guest would stay kind of in the compound away from the main house.
It allowed Mr. S to have his private spot, but it allowed him to have guests in great comfort here on the property. So New York, New York has 4 double bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, and has its own pool on the other side.
There's another pool.
There's another pool.
This is like the Hearst Castle.
It sure is, isn't it?
This is amazing.
This is comfortable.
And to stay here must have been an amazing invitation to stay at this house.
Well, it's got to be a pretty special atmosphere when you have the Sinatra music and you're sitting here and just creating images of what it was like at those days.
I used to wonder why he used to get off stage, whether it would be in Las Vegas or San Diego, wherever he would work, and the car would be waiting at the stage door and jam to the airport. He would get on the airplane and fly here. And I used to always wonder, why would he, make that much trouble about just getting home that quickly? And when you see all this, you realize why.
Yeah. Now, would this have been, would he have played, is this a card table? Was he a card player? Was he a, what would have happened here?
Lots of laughs, believe me when I tell you. Lots of laughs and a few drinks around the pool and entertaining friends, and it was just...
Was he a lounge by the pool kind of a guy? I'm having a hard time seeing
he
Frank
would lounge by the
lounging.
pool. In fact, Elaine was mentioning how Barbara and Frank got married on the 11th of July, and I was invited to the 20th anniversary that they had at the home in Malibu. And as a matter of fact, I wrote a song for the both of them that came from different things that I had heard Barbara say about Frank and Frank say about Barbara. And we were at the Malibu home. There's a little patio outdoors that overlooks the ocean, and there was a piano there, and Robert Wagner had just given a toast. And after that, I sang this song called 20 Years Ago Today, and the both of them were standing in front of the piano and little tears in their eyes, and it was one of those, again, memorable moments.
Wow.
Lots of those.
Yeah. You just wonder, I mean, the look of the place. It is made to order for the good life.
It's really an entertaining home, and he did certainly an awful lot of entertaining.
Were there wild pool parties here?
Gee, I really don't know
What can we say and what can't we say? I mean, were there Hollywood parties here? Or was it kind of a low-key thing? Were there people jumping naked into the pool? I mean, what was going on?
Well, of course, he did an awful lot of entertaining out here, and needless to say, all of his Hollywood friends would come down and visit him and congregate around the pool.
Would Dean Martin have been here, and Sammy Davis Jr.?
Everybody was here. Sammy used to stay here. Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet. All the friends of his would come down from L.A. and be his house guests.
And wonder when you were here as a guest if you would be free to take any kind of photographs that you wanted. I mean, how private a place was it? How respectful did you had to be of Frank's privacy when you were here? Do you know? Have you heard anything about that?
Not really that much. I know that certainly in later years he and Mrs. Sinatra spent a fair bit of time in the house while the guests were on the property, but I haven't heard of any abuse of photographs by guests on site.
Yeah.
If he had friends here, they knew enough not to abuse anything.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because this was literally like a compound that kind of was his little cocoon,
own little world.
His own little cocoon, where he could come and rejuvenate, and boy, that is about as beautiful a sight as you can see. That desert landscape. You look over here, Louis, all the way around, and you see the mountains and the palm trees. It's all here.
It's all here.
Hugh, before we leave this area, I wanted to show you that in the days when the Sinatras were in residence, Mr. S.'s flag was flying, and you used to be able to tell that to people as you drove by.
Absolutely. We drive by the estate, and of course, they'd want to know a little bit about it. And of course, the big question was, do you think he was there? Is he in the house? And you could always tell because the flag would be up if he's here. If it wasn't, there was nothing on the pole.
That's what they do at the White House when the president's there. Mr. S did the same thing. Maybe Mr. S started that tradition and the president followed.
Picked it up.
But the deal is when the president's in residence at the White House, the flag's up. Same thing here. Boy, this is pretty. I'm just sorry I was never here when they were here. Gosh, I can't even imagine.
It was wonderful. This house would just come to life when he was here.
And it was a home, wasn't it?
Yes,
it was not a show place. I mean, it's a beautiful place, but this isn't, how do I put it? It's not luxurious in the sense of being overdone. It's was very simple and comfortable.
Comfortable for him. That's exactly what it was. It was comfortable for him.
I guess when you reach that status, you don't need to show off, do you? You don't need that.
Actually, this is showing off pretty good, I would think.
No, it is
I know
for
what
us.
you're saying.
But in the scheme of things, there are definitely bigger, more expensive, fancier houses out here than this one. Right, Gary?
Oh, absolutely. They're huge palatial mansions, overdone, very ornate. This is very simple, but of course, it's designed to put you in a very relaxed state of mind. If he wanted ornate, he could go any place in the world and get that.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through here because really we've actually saved what could be the best for the last. What's inside this room is truly amazing. We've taken a peek in here already, and this room has Mr. S. You can feel his presence inside this room.
Now, Huel, this was the theater. This is the place that we had all that late night fun. After the movie, we'd go to the bar here. And,
oh boy, we're finally getting some good Sinatra stories now.
Getting to the bar here, and then wind up at the piano, and Frank would walk around with a drink and hum along with me. And
well, I can tell there's a lot in here. Elaine, you've got a few things to point out to us right away.
Well, if the walls could talk, but since they can't, this was a room that had a lot of good times in it, which Frankie has mentioned. But it also had some memorabilia, and Frank Sinatra loved to paint. And above the fireplace is his first oil painting.
So Sinatra, look at this. F. Sinatra, and what is that? Is that
82.
82 is when he started painting.
He started painting and actually loved it. It was a way of his time, his private time, and actually has a studio here on the property.
So he would paint here in Rancho Mirage.
He would paint here in Rancho Mirage, and in the theater, we have two of his original paintings.
Oh my gosh. Now, how would you describe this? What kind of, who's an artiste? Who can describe what this was? Do we know anything about it?
I can't tell you anything about it.
Well, I'm not going to say anything bad about it. Sinatra, 88.
88.
Where are his works? Are they in private collections? Are they in galleries? Are they still with the family?
In a lot of the places you've just mentioned, we have a lot on site in the main house, and also a number of paintings have been donated to local charities and used at auction. So he benefited the area by his work.
Actually, Huel, this is one of his paintings right here. They made a limited edition of ties, of Frank Sinatra ties, and this, as you can see right back here, says Frank Sinatra. Yeah, I have quite a few of these because I just had to have them. But they're wonderful. They're beautiful ties and very well done, but they're actually just duplicates of a painting.
I'm just finding out all of this stuff that Sinatra did. Yeah. This man had a lot of talents.
Creative talents.
And a lot of them took place here in the desert.
That's right.
This place kind of got his juices going out here.
Yeah, the people here, I really think that this is real Sinatraville here, and still is to this very day.
There's a good marketing, Sinatraville.
So we'll just rename it.
Sinatraville. Wonder what the people of Rancho Mirage would say about that. I don't know. Well, we're on Frank Sinatra Drive. Yeah. That's the first step toward naming it Sinatraville. Well, let's talk a little bit about this, Frankie. Now listen, Elaine. We're going to hear some inside stories here.
After the movie, we generally wind up around this bar, and sometimes Frank would get behind it, or certainly he had people that manned the bar.
But Sinatra would mix the drinks himself sometimes.
Lots of times he'd come back here and say, "What do you want? Let's."
And what was his drink of choice?
Well, he had at various times it was different drinks. Sometimes it was a Budweiser beer, and sometimes
out of the bottle or
Jack
out of
Daniels. And if he was thirsty enough anyway, he could get it. You know.
And I'm just noticing these boxing gloves.
Well, you'll
with
notice
a shot of Sinatra wearing the gloves
in the middle. I don't know that much about that particular little arrangement up there, but
he was a fighter at one time.
I think so. I think when he was a kid, just like all of us, you know, you go into the police athletic league or.
Are you putting this together here, or was this all here as it was? I mean, is that memorabilia that you've acquired?
No, I believe that was here.
Really?
Yeah, I remember it as being here. Yeah.
And here's a great picture of the Rat Pack right there, up on the wall. Oh, here's a picture of Sinatra and Dean mixing drinks.
I believe that was on stage. At one point, they would have a cart rolled out on stage when they were performing, and they just fix the drinks right on stage.
Well, you kind of get in the spirit of things down here.
Isn't that great?
I don't see any Jack. Well, I'm sure there's some Jack Daniels
right behind you. Right behind you.
There it is. Jack Daniels.
Yeah, that was
Black Label.
That was his favorite.
I know he wouldn't drink the green label. It had to be the black label, the good stuff. Oh, here's a great picture. Look at this, Louis, of Mr. S.
And Barbara, of course.
And Barbara.
The
Do you
lovely
think
Barbara.
that may have been made out here in the
It could have
desert?
been right here. It could have been right here. Wow. And then I'd generally wind up at the piano here, and he'd say, "Come on, let's play some tunes." And
now, wait a minute. What is this here? What is this?
this, what is behind this? Isn't the screen there?
That is the screen, because this is called the theater for a reason.
Well, I remember a screen used to come down out of the ceiling.
And that is still there, and that's for the television.
Yeah.
But at the touch of a button in the projection room, the Sinatra oil will drop, which reveals the projection room. The curtain opens, and first-run movies.
And the movie starts.
So they would screen
Here.
first-run movies in here? I guess Sinatra had no problem getting first-run movies.
The projection room, my understanding, is state-of-the-art for the time, and it's just behind the original oil painting.
So the curtains would open up, or the screen would come down. The screen is there. They would sit here and watch movies. But this was also a place where people would come after he had been out on the town.
This was the rumpus room, so to speak. In addition to, of course, being a well-equipped theater, it was a place where everyone just congregated and enjoyed a few drinks and certainly lots of laughs.
This was the party room.
This was the
what are you laughing about?
It was the party room.
The rumpus room. That's great. Well, that's a new name for it. But, I mean, this was really kind of the inner sanctum, wasn't it?
Yes,
I mean,
it was.
this was I mean, I can see everybody piling in here from the clubs late at night.
Late at night, always late at night.
Mixing the drinks over here. Listening to watching a movie. I don't know whether you'd watch a movie that time of night. You probably went right to the bar and then came right over here to the piano.
And everybody sat next to me at that piano, including Frank and Jerry Vale, or whoever was in the party that night. We would get up and just have a good time.
Were you always here to play? I mean, is that the idea that you were kind of providing the music and kind of setting the tone?
Of course, I would come as a guest, as a dinner guest, and as a guest to watch the movies and so on. But because I did play piano, and I'm proud to say he enjoyed what I did, we'd wind up at that piano, and it was wonderful.
All right, let's go to the piano. This is the piano.
This is it. This is the same piano.
Wow.
It's a gorgeous piano. And
How do you feel being back in this room right
it's
now?
It's a bit eerie, actually, in a way, but very comfortable. There were just so many memories I have of well-spent time here and fun, and hearing him laugh, and just he walking around and having a drink, and me playing a song like, "I took a trip on a train and I thought about you," or any of his favorites, "Come fly with me, let's fly away," all those songs. And of course, if every so often he'd want to hear some pretty songs like, "Maybe I should have saved those leftover dreams. Funny, but here's that rainy day." And Jimmy Van Heusen used to live right around the corner, and Jimmy's real name is Chester Babcock. And Frank loved Chester. And Jimmy wrote so many great songs, Love and Marriage, and all those wonderful Academy Award-winning songs that he wrote. And
was this a creative place for Sinatra? Would he get ideas in here? Would you all talk about music in here while you were playing?
I would very often get a call from him if he had to learn a song. For example, one time he had to learn a song for a movie that Sammy Kahn had written the music to, and he called up, and it was so great to hear his voice at the other end when he would call. And of course, I live right around the corner. And he would say, "Hey, Cheech, come on over. I got to learn a song. I want you to show me this, or I want you to show me that."
And this is where that would happen?
That would happen right here.
Where would he stand?
He'd stand right about where you are, or right here.
And just play off of you creatively?
Yeah, just kind of go over a song.
And at parties, would he like to hear his music, or would he like to hear any kind of music? What kind of music did Sinatra like?
Well, of course, he loved the music that he did, but it wasn't necessary to do his music. He was just a music lover. And
all kinds of music?
All kinds of music. He used to like to listen to the original songs that I wrote, and he was just a big music fan, and he loved musicians. He used to love to hang out with musicians. And actually, he was a musician. His instrument was his throat.
Would he play ever?
He played, you know, he'd tinkle around a little bit with piano.
But he was not a piano player.
He wouldn't consider, he never really considered himself a pianist. But he.
Wow, the one thing we've heard today that Sinatra didn't do. I mean, we've heard all the wonderful things that he did do. But he played a lot off of you in these creative moments.
You know, he had some great piano players. That were Bill Miller is one of the finest piano players who did that. You know, the Set 'em Up Joes, and he had some wonderful musicians that he took with him on the road.
And a lot of those musicians, if we could probably list the people who have been at this piano bench.
The best.
The best.
The absolute best of all time.
Huell, this to me is one of the most interesting things. This collage shows young Frank Sinatra as a 13-pound baby boy.
Oh my gosh.
Mom, Dolly, and Dad, Marty Sinatra. And I gather after the birth, Mrs. Sinatra didn't have any more.
After having a 13-pound.
Young Sinatra, basically his school days and his early days. And this wonderful collage, which has such a story, by Fred Waring, 1984.
Wow.
Yes, and another one
so
behind
that was
us.
probably presented to Sinatra as a gift from Fred Waring.
It may certainly have been. I don't have the story on that.
And this wonderful collage over here has everything. There's a picture of Sinatra with John Kennedy, all of with Kissinger, Dean Martin, the Princess Grace of Monaco.
And Rainier, yes.
Boy,
yes.
the Reagans, Sammy Davis.
Count Basie.
Count Basie. Wow.
Yeah, just a great presentation on the man's life.
How did these pictures, Frankie, how did these pictures get here? Who chose who put the pictures and what pictures they were?
I would think that Frank himself had an awful lot of input, but it seems to me that Barbara would have gotten involved in just the placement of them and so on.
Because we have a whole wall over here.
This kind of seems to have to do with his movie career, more or less.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to see. Look at this. This is very interesting. The
How about all
phone
those
system.
telephones, yeah?
Here's the phone system right here, and here is the directory to the phone that still has the extension for Mrs. S.'s dressing room, for Mr. S.'s dressing room, for the living room, for the den bar, for the caboose, for the theater, for the train room.
You turned it over and there's New York extensions.
Oh, his New York extensions as well. Instructions to operate the movie screen, the projector, the VCR, and there is a buzzer here for the kitchen.
Isn't that great? Yeah,
Did you have food brought in?
Oh, yeah. Roland would prepare food, and Vine or one of the people would bring it into us, yeah.
Wow, look at this.
And it was great, you know, because all during the seasons, like, for example, at Christmas time, there would be matches all around that would say Noel, Babs and Barbara and Blue Eyes, or Mr. and Mrs.
Now, be honest, did you ever just take one of those as a souvenir? I mean, it had to be something.
Oh, absolutely. I have the Noel matches and the Mr. and Mrs. matches. Yeah, it's just, you had to take some. In fact, I even have a pack of gum, if you can believe it, of his that
well, how would you know it was his?
Well, because he took it out of his pocket. We both took a piece of gum, and he says, "Here," he says, "take it with you." And I put it in my pocket, and I still have it.
Oh my gosh! You know, this is amazing, Elaine, that you've kept all of this exactly. It's really like time has stood still here.
It's a goal. It's a goal. We want it that way. We'll just make it better. We're not going to take anything away. That's Sinatra.
Now this, I'm just spotting this. Thank you for not smoking.
That sign was not here. That sign was definitely not
That
here.
has been added by the new owner.
I must admit, yes.
So this room would have probably been filled with smoke.
Well, you know, Barbara was meticulous about not having too much smoke in the room, so that generally those sliders would be open or the door would be open. And for the most part, Frank was courteous enough to say, "Come on, let's go outside, guys, and have a cigarette."
Yeah. I'm just looking over here, more pictures in this room.
Take a walk in through there.
What is in here, Frankie?
Well, I haven't been in here in a while, but there's...
Oh, this is the bathroom.
Yeah, it's a bathroom, but it's just, again, so many pictures of recording sessions, and
wow.
Here he is being received in some sort of a parade.
There are even pictures in the actual bathroom itself over here.
Yeah.
Wow. It was an experience just coming in the bathroom
Well, sure,
here.
you could spend a half hour here just looking at pictures.
Wow. These are great.
Here he is with Dean and some of the pictures they made.
Yeah.
Shirley MacLaine.
It's like a museum.
It is. It's
in
fantastic.
here.
It's wonderful.
Well, this is about as much fun as I think we've ever had. Gary has shot 4 hours worth of home movies here. You got it all.
It's amazing, Hugh. I got to tell you, this is a magical experience. This is one everyone's going to sit through. So many years driving by, wondering what is going on the other side of that gate.
The gate right over here that we were kind enough to finally get on the other side of.
And to see it, I'll tell you, it's more extraordinary in here than I ever could have imagined.
You know, what's amazing about this, Frankie, it really still has Sinatra's feel to it, doesn't it? In a way, it's, I don't want to say eerie, but in a good way.
You feel the presence. You feel his presence. Yeah, it's been a great experience for me as well today.
And like you said earlier, you can also quickly understand why he loved being here so much. The feel, the comfort level, the hominess that the place has.
It certainly is a beautiful place, and he enjoyed it, certainly.
Well, we enjoyed it today. Thank you very much for...
You're welcome. It's our pleasure.
This is, I mean, this is beyond our wildest dreams to be allowed to come in here. We're going to be showing this on KCET. Gary will be selling these home movies at every AM PM market in Southern California.
This is hot footage.
Yeah, I know,
This is
I know,
hot.
I know. I don't know whether he's allowed.
Special.
I don't know
Not
whether
many
he's allowed to
people
do that or not.
I agree.
But look at this. I mean, this is about as beautiful as it gets. I mean, this beautiful day, the mountains, the palm trees, the sunshine. This was what it was all about for Sinatra.
This was home. This was special.
Yeah. Well, as we leave, there's something else right at the end that you want us to do for you.
Yeah. We would like to continue on with a small tradition of always having roses from his garden with Mr. S. And I understand you're going to go for a visit this afternoon, and we'd be so delighted if you would take a rose from his garden and say, from all of us at Frank's Place, hello.
Now, these were Sinatra's roses.
This
Do we
is-
know that he liked roses?
We know he liked roses. Whether or not he was a hands-on person, I don't know. But this was his garden that he enjoyed, and the flowers would make their way to his room.
So the staff would cut the flowers
Yes.
and put them in Sinatra's
Yes,
room
yes.
when he was here,
Yes.
when the flag was flying.
Yes, yes, that's it.
Okay, so what's going to happen now?
Well, I'm going to look for a rose that would look good. And I think I'm going to go over to one of the very bright ones and cut
Okay.
you one.
So we're going to cut a rose. That's a beauty right
So
there.
we'll take that one.
This is a beautiful rose in this beautiful setting here at the Sinatra home. And we're going to take this rose and leave it with Mr. S.
Thank you.
from his garden.
Thank you.
Hugh, we're in Desert Memorial Park in Cathedral City, just a few miles from the Sinatra home. And one of the interesting people that happens to be here at the cemetery is the person who really brought Frank to the desert in the first place, and that's Jimmy Van Heusen. A very famous songwriter, wrote many of the Sinatra hits, including Love and Marriage, and of course, Swingin' on a Star.
And you had talked about Van Heusen when we were at the Sinatra home.
In addition to him being such a great songwriter, he was one of Frank's dearest and closest friends, and they laughed together, and his real name was Chester Babcock, and Frank used to call him Chester, but he was a wonderful man, and his wife Bobby still lives here in the desert.
So it's appropriate that he be here close to Frank, and the other person appropriate to Frank.
Right here is Jilly Rizzo. Jilly Rizzo was perhaps Frank's closest friend. Ran Jilly's restaurant in New York, and I know that's where Frankie had met him too.
Yeah, I started working at Jilly's in the early 60s, and that's where I met Frank Sinatra.
At Jilly's.
At Jilly's. I was there about 2 weeks playing at the piano bar, and it seemed like the room just parted, and in walked this man that was bigger than life.
Sinatra. Now, Jilly had a place out here in Palm Springs as well.
He had a place here in Palm Springs. He had a place in Florida, but the place that Jilly started at was on 52nd Street between 8th Avenue and Broadway.
Now, it says here he was the best. Do you think, what does that
Sinatra thought he was the best.
So that quote could have been from Sinatra about his buddy, Jilly.
I would think so. It had to have come from Frank, or certainly a close friend of Jilly's. He was a wonderful guy.
And right down here, Sinatra's parents are buried here. Barbara's parents are buried here. And here is the gravesite right here of Francis Albert Sinatra, beloved husband and father. The best is yet to come.
I can't believe that it's all over. I can't believe that it's goodbye. The thought of life without you makes me want to cry. I need your love to make me happy. Without it, I won't even try. I can't imagine life without you. I'll love you till the day I die. The first time that I saw you, I had to have you for my own, and holding you gave me a feeling I've only felt from you alone. Won't you tell me that you love me? Please say it's not goodbye. The thought of life without you makes me want to cry. I need your love to make me happy. Without it, I won't even try. I can't imagine life without you. I'll love you till the day I die.
Palm Canyon Drive is the main drag in Palm Springs. Has been since the early days. It was certainly the hopping place when this film was shot back in the 50s. Well, today things are pretty much still the same. Palm Canyon Drive is still the heart of Palm Springs. Well, continuing on our Palm Springs nostalgia trip, what we're going to do right now is go back in time to an event that started back in the mid-1930s. It was called the Desert Circus, and it was a big celebration here in Palm Springs. The Desert Circus lasted for over a week, and it culminated with a huge parade that went right down Palm Canyon here. The parade was full of all the local bands, and every business had a float. There were a lot of equestrian units. It was a big deal. And we've come across, thanks to the Palm Springs Historical Society, some wonderful old home movies of that Desert Circus parade. And we have hooked up with our good friends at my favorite radio station here in Palm Springs, KWXY Radio, 98.5 on your FM dial. They play all the wonderful classic old songs. When you drive into Palm Springs, turn on that station and it really puts you in the mood. So we're putting together the old home movies of the Desert Circus with some great old songs about Palm Springs. And right now we're going to go back in time to the 30s and 40s and take a look at that original Desert Circus parade as it headed right down Palm Canyon. Enjoy.
Gil Hauser has been in town this week with his California Gold TV cameras, shooting the Coachella Valley and the beauty of the city of Palm Springs for new broadcasts on KCET Channel 8. Here's some Palm Springs music for California Gold. It's riding next door. AWXY with Dean Martin and the story of Palm Springs in Texas, a record he made especially for the Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce. With KWXY, we've been serving you for 36 years.
Nobody does it better. KWXY.
And here's another nugget of California gold, local resident Keely Smith.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed our visit to Frank Sinatra's house and all those wonderful old home movies of Palm Springs. If you'd like to see it again, share it with family or friends, or keep a copy for your home library. It's available on video cassette and on DVD. And we have a special DVD containing not only this program, but 11 hours of additional programs, all of it about Palm Springs. It's a Palm Springs extravaganza, and it's also available on a very special DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.